and send a link out. We can send a link out to folks after this with some resources. So look out for that email. We can go ahead and get started. Our agenda for today, we're going to talk about some of the 2021 deploys from the summer. Summer is officially over, at least where I live in Minnesota. We're going to focus on email campaigns and personalization data sets as two of the more interesting things that we deployed over the summer. And I will say that these features kind of tend towards the more advanced side. So these are great features for groups who are already using Action Network in a pretty robust way. If you're looking for a more intro training that kind of gets into some of the core features and technology, I'm going to put in the chat a link to our getting started trainings. So we have these every month. We have a series of getting started trainings that focus on data, on sending emails and mobile messages, and on creating actions. So if you are interested, feel free to pop off if you think this isn't the right place for you. Otherwise, definitely excited to have you here. And then we do have those trainings as a resource if you're looking for something that's more of an intro to Action Network and a general overview. And then at the end, I'm going to open up some time for questions about any features that we deployed this summer. And folks can either pop off then, or you can hang out and we can keep talking about all the cool features that we have up. So we are going to get started with, this is the list of almost everything that we deployed this summer. So we're constantly deploying or releasing new features to both the email tool and also to our newer mobile tool set. So we have a bunch of stuff on here. I'm not going to go through everything in detail, but you can see the two things we're really going to focus on are personalization data sets and email campaigns. So of this list, those are the things that we're going to dive into in a little more detail. And we're going to start with email campaigns. So email campaigns are essentially a reporting dashboard. They are really great for a couple of different things. One, on just generally reporting on the overall health of your program over a specific period of time. So maybe you've been in a situation where you want to be able to report on kind of your email program for September or your email program for 2020, and be able to see your rolled up stats, like your opens, your clicks, your actions for that longer period of time. So this is a great way to do that. On a similar vein, it's a great way to report on the success of a specific campaign. So maybe if you do end of year fundraising and you want to report on the success of your end of year fundraising campaign, or you have kind of volunteer campaigns that you're doing or issue related campaigns, you can report really easily on the success of those campaigns using this tool. And then the last thing, which is a little more interesting and definitely for larger programs, is the ability to manage a workflow of test and full sends of email. So if you're sending out a series of emails and you're testing content, you can manage all of those emails from one page and this new tool. So we're going to start with that, and I'm going to show you kind of each of these use cases, and then we can, if there are any questions, we can answer those. So email campaigns. First, where are they? So if you are familiar with your group page, that's where I am right now. This is my test group. And if I click on the emails tab here and scroll down through all of my emails, at the bottom here, I have a new list, which is email campaigns. And here I can see the email campaigns I've already created. So you can see I have an August email campaign where I was taking a look at my stats for August. I have an end of year campaign, and I have a specific abortion rights series of sends that I was taking a look at. So this is where they live, and I can click to manage them from here. And I can also click to view stats, my rolled up stats for that campaign as well. And we're going to get started by actually creating a new campaign. So you can do that from the email manage page. So here is an email. I'm going to report on the kind of rolled up stats or the overall success of the emails that I sent out in September. So I'm going to click to manage an email. You can see I sent it on 9/15. I'm going to click to manage it, and there's a new button. We call this the email manage page. There's a new button here called add to email campaign. And this is the way to create a new email campaign. You actually create an email campaign from an email. So I'm going to click to add to email campaign. And I have an option here. I can either add this email that I already sent to an existing email campaign, or I can click this green plus button and I can create a new one. And I don't have a September email campaign, so I'm going to create a new one here. September 2021. And I'm going to save and create my email campaign. And this is what the page, I'll scroll up just a little bit. This is what the full page looks like here. So on the first statistics page, these are my rolled up stats. So you can see right now I only have one email in my email campaign. It's a sent email. And then I have the stats for this specific email here. So this is just reporting on one email. And I want to add more emails. So I'm going to go to add existing emails because I'm looking back on emails that I sent in September. And I'm going to go 9- and select any emails that I sent in September. So I'm going to look here for a bunch of emails. Let's see. Got a bunch of them. Okay, so I think I got all the ones from 2021. And I'm going to add my selected emails here. And then I can see I now have 10 sent emails in my email campaign. And now my rolled up stats look different because these are stats for all of the emails that I sent that are in this campaign. Now, this is a very high open rate because I'm just using some test data. So most of these were sent to myself. But you could see kind of what does your click rate look like for all of the emails that you sent in September? What does your open rate look like? Your actions and your unsubscribes. So you get to have that like larger bird's eye view of what's happening over a specific period of time. And then you also get to take a closer look at the emails that you sent. So on the view emails page, I can search for emails and then I can just scroll down and I can see these are all the emails that I sent in September. And you can click to like remove it. If you're like, oh, this was actually in August, I shouldn't have added this, or this was 2020. And you can click to manage. So I can go back to that manage page. And you can also click to view the stats for an individual email. And then if I scroll down, we have a handy new download email stats button. And this is going to show you download an email, a CSV of your stats for each of the emails in your email campaign. So you have kind of the stats, the individual stats for all of them in one CSV, which is super helpful. So hopefully, yes, great question. An email can be associated with multiple email campaigns. And we're actually gonna do that today. So we're gonna associate emails with multiple campaigns, but that's a good question. Any other questions before we go on to the next example? All right, let's do it. So the second campaign actually already exists. So I'm going to go back into my group and scroll down and we'll be able to see my new campaign. So I'm going to go in the emails tab, scroll down, and I can see September exists. I could go back and manage it if I wanted to. I could also view those stats really quickly. And I can also download email campaign stats, and this will show the rolled up stats, and they'll all be in one CSV. So another helpful way to get access. And then we talked about being able to report on emails that are a part of a campaign. So maybe you have a campaign on housing, or you have a campaign on end of year giving, or a volunteer drive, or a campaign related to a specific conference that you're hosting or a training. These are a series of emails that all relate to the same topic, and you want to see like, how did I do on this larger topic? We can do that as well. So this is my end of year giving example. So in this example, I have 3 emails already in this campaign that have been sent. I have 1 that's scheduled. So you can also see emails that are going to be sent upcoming. And I can again, I can click to add existing emails to my campaign, and maybe I'll search end of year, and I can see I have 2 other emails from this year that I want to add. So I can click there, and I can also create and add a new email. So I could click this button here, and I could create an email from scratch, and it would exist in that email campaign. So you can also just have a quick shortcut to creating a new email. And I can see now I have 5 emails that have been sent. You can see what my rolled up stats look like. And I can go over here to view those emails and see all of the end of month emails that I've sent. And I can take a quick screenshot of this page, the stats page, and maybe send it up to my boss or send it to other folks on my team. And then again, you can download. You have this button down here to download those stats. So a really similar use case, but just kind of thinking about different ways that you can use this tool to report on the health of your program and some of the success of your program. Any questions before I show our last example with email campaigns? Okay. So one thing I want to show here quick, and then we can do our last example, is if I click to manage an email, I can see it'll show you which campaigns it's connected to. So I can see this email is an end of month email that was sent in September. And you can see it's part of the September 2021 that we just created together, and it's part of the end of year giving. And I can click really easily to go back and view that campaign page. So the last example is a little different, and this is a way to kind of manage if you're sending out maybe 3 emails or 4 emails in a day, and you have test sends and full sends. So this is for larger lists who are doing lots of A/B testing. You can use email campaigns as kind of like a dashboard to manage those emails as they're going out. So if I scroll down again, I can see I have an abortion rights for September 2021. I can click to manage it, and I can see that I have some emails in draft and some emails that are sent. So in this example, I have a test, I have another test, and I have a third test. And this one's in draft, and I actually want to send this one out. So I can just really easily click to edit this email, and then I can go to the preview and send page. I can target it, and I can see it's excluding my other tests, and I can send it out really easily from this page. So I'll send this out, and then I'll be able to see, okay, this is a part of the abortion rights flow that I'm sending. And now I'll be able to see, if I scroll down, it's been sent. And then the cool thing that you can do here is if you have sent out a couple of tests, you can then on one page really easily compare stats and say like, okay, wow, test 3 or like test 1 or test 2 is clearly the winner here. And I'm going to, from this page again, duplicate with exclude. So you're duplicating the content of the email, but you're excluding the content, excluding the audience. And I can say, yes, I want to keep this in the current email campaign. And then I will go through that same send flow that we've all been through and be able to send it out really easily. So the goal here is if you do have one of those complex programs where you have a bunch of emails that you're sending out all at once, you can really easily manage those and be able to pick winners from a single page. So then I can save, preview, and send. And I can, once it's calculated, I'll be able to send it out. But it was easier for me to pick a winner in this scenario. Yeah, so let's get some questions. Yes, we can talk about that, definitely. That's a little bit outside of this functionality, but that's a great thing to dive into. And we're going to talk a little bit about that with personalization and data sets. So someone's asking about if-then functions. Any other questions about email campaigns that I can answer? And in the meantime, I think Seth is going to put up a poll and see if this is something you feel like would be useful for your program or you're interested in using. And Rebecca asked if this is only for emails, not for actions, and that is true. So right now it's just email campaigns. Definitely see a use case for actions or mobile messages in the future. But emails seemed like a good place to start.
So the poll is up. So we appreciate you responding. I realize some folks may not be able to participate, but we're at 72%. I'd love to get to closer to 100. Just love your opinion on this this tool. This helps us as we refine some of the tools here. Excited about it.
Cool. So I think we can keep going. So that's email campaigns. We're really excited about it. It's something that we built in collaboration. This is something that the DNC was really excited about. So we are excited to see how folks continue to use it. It's a relatively recent deploy. So the next thing we wanted to talk about, I think, is even a little bit more complicated. And we call this personalization datasets. So this is a way to send out personalized content in emails, mobile messages, and that includes ladders. So if you're sending out automated stuff. And it's based on, I think the easiest way to do it is based on like the geographic location where your people live. So that could be country, that could be state, city, or zip code. And then you can also kind of like a more advanced step would be to send out personalized content based on a custom field that you store for your recipients. This could be like the school that or university that they attend, volunteer status, like an issue that they're interested in, or perhaps their work site. And we're going to dive into this. I have two examples. So we're going to start with an email. And this is the email that I wrote. Please forgive my copy. So in this example, we want to be able to send out the registration deadline. If we're running, in this example, it's a United States-based example, and we are sending out a national list. So it's going to people in all different states. But we want to send out personalized registration deadlines. So like the date that people have to register by, we want it to be based on the state that they live. So we can see in the email that we have here, I used the first name clip. So folks are familiar with that. It's right here in the clip section. So you can output first name. This is really simple personalization. So first name will be output. Otherwise, it'll say there if we don't have first name. And the email that I want to send says, now is the time to make your voice heard. The registration deadline in, and I actually used another clip here. So this is outputting the state of the person. The registration deadline in your state is, and then this is where I want to put the actual date. And so if I go to my spreadsheet that I created, we can see how that's going to work. So, all right, registration deadlines. So personalization datasets allow us to relate a key, which is the custom fields. And in this example, I'm using state, which is a really great place to start, with a value, and that is registration deadline. And so if I go to my Action Network group, I'm actually going to go to a different group for this example. The personalization datasets exist in the details menu. So it's a new upload. In the details menu, right in the middle, I can click on personalization datasets, and this will allow me to upload my dataset. So if I click on the blue button, we can see there's a sample file, which is a great place to start. We have some notes, so you can use like HTML if you want to as a key. You can output, and it has to be like California. We can do California lowercase or all uppercase, but it can't be like just CA. It has to be spelled correctly or we won't be able to match. So there's some like very basic guidelines. But I'm going to go back to my data set and I'm going to download as. So for all kind of the uploads that we do in the system, it's comma separated values. So I'm going to click to download as a comma separated value because I'm using a Google Sheet, and I'm going to drag it over and I'm going to choose the field that I'm basing this upload on. And I can see here, you could base it on a city or zip or postal code or country, or you can see then some of the custom fields I have here. But the really simple state is the match. And then this is going to be registration deadlines by state. And then I'm going to click to upload. And then it should take a second or two, but I can see we already have the date here, the state, and the created by. And then if I refresh, one of the benefits of doing an upload like this versus for folks who have done personalization in the past and maybe based it off of email address. So you uploaded a huge list and then each person had a registration deadline. This takes, you know, a couple of seconds to maybe a couple of minutes if it's a really big upload, versus sometimes those other uploads can take a while because it's just a lot more data. But you can see this one's already done, which is fantastic. And then we create this clip for you. And all you have to do is click copy clip. And this is the clip. It's a bunch of kind of random unique data here and says data set. And there's a place in here for you to add default content if you want to. We are not going to add default content today. And then all I have to do is copy this clip into my email. And then I can click to save and preview. And then voila. So it says, hi, Mari, which is my name. And then it output my state, which is Minnesota. And it output my registration deadline, which is incorrect. This data is incorrect for 2022. I just put some random dates in there. But it worked really well. I previewed this. And if I sent this email out, I have folks in all different states, it would output the correct data for them. So it's a really kind of easy way to do personalization with a smaller, quicker upload. And I can send myself a test if I want to. Let's see, I can put somebody else on my team in here and maybe see what their data looks like. So Amy's in District of Columbia, September 20th. So that data changed really quickly. Any questions about this example that I can answer? I'm going to do another example as well, but definitely want to pause and see if there are any questions. I know this is a lot of information. So that's a great question from Connecticut AFL. My recommendation, so there's a couple different things if you don't have the state of the activist. One thing you can do in this example, if I am sending out an email that bases the data on state, when I'm targeting my email, I can target people, only people who I have a state for. So like if I go to the targeting page, I can see here in the states section, I could select all of these states, all 50 states, and then I would be sure that nobody would be getting any blank data. The other thing that you can do, and you just have to have a little more planning, is you can have defaults. You can have a default in here. And so maybe your default is like, check your registration deadline and you send people a link instead of sending people a date so that they can go in, click on it, and input their own information. Good question. Any other questions? Yes, this can be done with mobile messages. So Caroline asked if it can be done with text. It can be done with text. My next example is going to be a mobile example. You can output links, totally, Devin. That's a great question. Kind of whatever content, it can be HTML, it can be links, it can't be images, but anything kind of that would go in a CSV can be put in here. Cool. Okay, so my next example, and then we're gonna have time for more questions, is, I think, even more fun. It's a ladder. And this is an example that will only work if you are currently set up to send out mobile messages. So we have a new mobile messaging tool. It's not really new anymore. Maybe Seth, if you want to put a link, if folks are interested in learning more about mobile, in the chat. But we have a new-ish mobile tool. So if you're not set up to send out mobile messages, you won't be able to do this, but it's still fun. And in this example, we are going to relate state again, because I think that's a really easy place to start. And this is actually going to be relating state to information about access to abortion. And I think one thing to think about when you're doing personalization data sets like this is like, is it easier to send out a link where people input their state and find their own information? Or is it like more interesting to send the content to them directly? And I think this is a good example of where it's probably easier to send the information to them directly and not in a link. So in this example, we have a ladder, which for folks who don't know is an automated way to send out emails and mobile messages. You can do really simple stuff and more complicated stuff like this. And I'm going to edit this ladder. In this ladder, the first step is somebody signs a petition by texting in a keyword. So this petition is abortion rights are under attack. And if they text in your keyword, which is fight, then they are signing the petition. So this is triggering those people into a ladder. And we are sending them an initial mobile message. And the initial mobile message is, thanks for taking action to support abortion access across the country. This is a little off. Reply with your zip code to get information about access to abortion in your state. So replying with zip code, and zip code, it might not be totally straightforward, is the way that we connect people to their state. So by asking for zip code, we're connecting people to a state in the system. And then we are going to, this next step is a wait for mobile response and store step. And this is a longer wait period. You can do an hour, you can do a couple hours. For this one, I think having a longer wait period is just helpful. And we are going to choose the field that we're going to store the information in, and it's zip code. You could ask for any information you want. So you can do surveys with this, but we're asking for zip code and we're going to store in zip code. And then we are going to send them a mobile message response. And this is going to be where the personalization data set comes in again. So let's go back to data sets. And I already upload this abortion access by state. So all I'm going to do is copy this clip. So again, a bunch of gibberish, but I'm going to output it in a mobile message here. And I'm going to just preview it. So we can see that this is what was stored in that personalization data set. So currently talking about some of what's going on in Minnesota, because again, I'm located in Minnesota and I included a link to donate to an abortion fund in Minnesota. So I could try out another. I think I put myself in a different state here. So I can preview as somebody else who lives somewhere else. So this is Arizona. So it's outputting the Arizona information. And for folks who are familiar with ladders and kind of doing some of this personalized content and sending out mobile messages based on state, before this would have required you to, instead of just sending out one mobile message with that clip, you would have created a decision step where you were like, is this person in Minnesota? And then we would go to state and we would click on Minnesota, and it would be a very complicated ladder where there were 50 of these decision steps where we were branching people and then sending them personalized messages. So you can definitely still do that. And then many times that's going to be the better option. But in situations like this, where you just have a ton of different data that you want to send folks, not having to do that is really nice. So yeah, so just to kind of reiterate, what will happen in this ladder is that somebody will text in a keyword, therefore signing a petition. They'll get a mobile message asking them for their zip code, which will store and connect them to state. And then we'll be able to send out this personalized mobile message that connects to a data set that gives them some cool information. So these are the two examples for personalization data sets. I think there's a lot more you can do. This is all we had scheduled for today. So I'm going to stay on and answer questions about personalization data sets. Also, if there are other questions, I can answer those as well. Yes, Devin. So Devin asked about doing mobile trivia quiz. This would be a really great way to do a mobile trivia quiz using custom fields instead of state. So you would relate the answers to the quiz to specific custom fields, and you'd be able to ask people the question and store the response. So we're going to do another poll before folks head out. So if this is a feature that you feel like you could incorporate into your program or you feel excited about using, please be honest, this is definitely not a feature for every program. You can answer the poll. And in the meantime, if there are more questions about personalization data sets, I'm happy to do that. Also, we have product updates. So we send out emails every time we have a new deploy. So I'll put that in the chat. So make sure if you're not getting those emails that you sign up to get those emails. So I'll put that in the chat here. And then we also have release notes. So we have release notes here. This is updated by our engineering team, and this goes through also every feature that we have released and gives a little information about what it is. So that's another great resource. I think we're also wondering if this is helpful to do these feature deep dives in the future. So we'll put up a poll, I think once this one's done, talking about if this is something that you'd like to see more of in the future. Again, total honesty is super helpful. We only want to do what's helpful. And then I'm going to just open it up. If folks have questions, we can answer those. And I'll just put here kind of the list again of everything that we deployed this year. So if there are questions that folks have, now is the time. Otherwise, we'll send a follow-up email. So participate in those polls, and then you can totally jump off.
So just shared the last poll. So this is something that you're interested in taking part in the future. Let us know. We'll continue doing it if you found it helpful.
Love to hear it, Erica. So we haven't done one. If there's interest in an automated testing down the list training, we'd be happy to host one. I would say, I'm just looking for automated. We had a pretty good guide that we put out that I can put in the chat. Totally, I totally get it. For folks who are more kind of beginners, you know, these are slightly more advanced features. So again, those beginners trainings are a great place to go. This is the guide to automated testing down the list, which is one of my other favorite features that we have. It's a really cool, deliverability feature. So, you know, check this out. If there is interest in doing a training, then reach out and we can set something up. Totally. Any other questions, kind of opening it up? If there are questions about email campaigns, questions about personalization data sets, things that we didn't cover, or if you have questions about anything else on this list or just a general question, I am here for it. Thank you. Appreciate that. If you So you can put a question in the chat if you have it. You don't have to unmute. Yeah, just go ahead and type it in the chat if you have a question.
Hey, I see Richmond. There, we do have a YouTube channel where we are constantly updating that channel with recordings. If you go on YouTube and search the Action Network, that comes up. I'll quickly pull the link and post it here, though.
Cool. And I'm getting a question. Cool. So I have one question that's a little bit specific, and I'm happy to do it about kind of the way to use ladders and welcome series. That's a great question, John. I think John asked if there's a specific list for those interested in the deep dive. I think we'll probably send an email to everybody who joined this one when we do the next one. But we don't have a specific list right now. Okay, and I'm gonna put this, is it okay if I got an internal question if I put it in the general chat? So everyone can follow along. Okay, let's see. So this is a specific scenario. So again, if you have to jump off, please do. But we have an organization that has a form where people say they wish to join the team and they indicate their state and their working group. And they want to set up a ladder that acknowledges all of these things. So this one, okay, cool. Let's see. And if there are more questions, put them in the chat. So let's go to creating a ladder together and see what we come up with. So in the people section, we have ladders. And essentially what we want to do is send people a specific email based on a couple of questions that they answered. So we'll start with a blank ladder and we'll kind of talk this through together. So this is the ladder that we want to set up. And I know we have a couple of advanced action users on the call. So if you also have feedback, we can kind of do this one together. So we're going to call this a welcome email. Welcome series. And the email that we want to send out is going to be, and let me know if I'm getting this, this is a lot of information. It is specific. The from is specific based on their state. So there's state specific information. There's information about if they've lost a loved one. Acknowledges kind of an answer to a survey they filled out about what information they want, where they want to get involved. So it's kind of a lot of intersecting information. So I feel like, yes, I think maybe how you'd want to do this is so you have your ladder and it would be based on an action. This is the easy part. So it took a specific action and it would be just the right group. Okay, I'm in the action network. So it'd be took a specific action, and then I think you could use some personalization, a couple different personalization data sets to, just gonna go to a different group, to output some of that specific information based on the custom field that you stored. So that you could use if else logic if you wanted to, or we could use, it would be a couple of different personalization data sets that you would. So I think you could do it. So start with a blank ladder. And then we have took a specific action. In this example, it's like a join action. So we'll say it's this check-in survey. So when they take action, you would send an email. And then I think how you do it is each of those pieces of data that you're asking them in the form. So your form would ask for each of those pieces of data, and they would be based on custom fields. It would only work if it's like a checkbox or a bulleted list. So where it's like a defined answer. And then you could have a series of personalization data sets based on those custom fields. And then you would have a number of different clips here. So it could be the from could be based, so who it's from could be based on the state. And you could put that in the clip in your from if you wanted to. So if it's from a specific captain, and then kind of like the answer to yes or no, you lost a specific person, you could output that here. You could also use, I think, the custom field clip for that. So you could output what they entered or some of what they entered based on a custom field value. I think you could do it using personalization data sets. It could be a little funky depending on how fluid some of the data that people are entering is. So if they're entering text versus they're choosing a specific option. But all of like the Calendly link, that could definitely be a personalization data set. The from could be a personalization data set, acknowledging the work that they're interested in. A lot of that could be personalization data set. Yeah, it's mostly checkboxes. Then that could definitely work. You would just want to have separate data sets for each of those pieces of data. And I think that would ultimately be more simpler than doing a bunch of different decision steps. So that's a good. And if you do want to try and set up a ladder and you want to get some feedback on it, you can always send it to our support line, or you can send it to me and I'd be happy to take a look at it. Yep, that's correct. No problem. All right, are there any more questions? I know that one was a little specific. Any other questions that folks have about any of these features? Cool. It seems like we are good. So we will send out a follow-up with some documentation, and we will let you know when we do another one of these in a couple of months. And really appreciate all the questions and the time from folks today.
Thanks all. Thanks, Mari.
Thanks, folks.